we are so thrilled to have you guys with us today. Thank you for joining us for our 9.2 launch. I know this has been eagerly awaiting, and I know a lot of you guys are super excited about the new features, and we can't wait to share those with you today. As you can see, we've got another all-star panelist today with us. We have Angie, VJ, and Alex, who will be speaking with you today. Just a quick few housekeeping rules. As a reminder, guys, we do record the session. So you will receive the recording after the meeting is over, along with any PowerPoints that might be shared from our presenters. I will also send you a copy of those. If you have any questions for our presenters, please use the Q&A feature. That is how we will address those, and the presenters will be able to converse with you and answer those questions. We will take some questions out loud, and then we can also answer some individually. So all Q&A, please submit, all questions, please submit through the Q&A. With that, I will go ahead and get started. I have a couple of slides to share with you guys, like we normally do here. There we go. Awesome. All right, so as I mentioned today, we have a great lineup of our presenters. I know you guys recognize these folks. We have, again, VJ, who is our Vice President of Product Management, Angie, Senior Product Manager, and Alex, one of our product managers, and they are here to deliver all things 9.2 and share with you the new features and also show you some demos today. Just a reminder, guys, IBI.com is back. So please be heading out to our website to find all of your IBI product and solution needs. We no longer will have stuff posted and on tibco.com. Everything has been moved over, and we are continuing to add to our website. So again, please be sure to be checking out IBI.com. Our customer stories are posted out there. All of our products and solutions are listed out there. This is where you will also find, underneath the resource section, you will find all of your on-demand user groups. So any recordings from user groups, from Focus Fridays, from previous webinars that we've done will all be under the resource section. And then for upcoming events, any user groups, Focus Fridays, and future webinars will be under the event section. So be sure to check that out. You still can access support here. It is at the bottom of the page, but you can still go out there and access the support group. And unfortunately, it does still take you back to a TIBCO page, but you are still communicating with the IBI support. So you can still access that. And then what's still coming, as I said, guys, we're constantly improving the website. We're constantly adding things to it. We're adding additional product documentation out there. We have heard you guys loud and clear for the need of education and training. So we are working on those like videos, YouTube videos, how-tos, things like that. You will be seeing some of that material coming very, very soon to you. And then, of course, we are working to improve our community so that you guys can have a better community experience through that portal. The events page, as you can see here, we are keeping this updated. We're finishing out the month of April pretty strong. Earlier this month, we did 2 in-person user groups. So thank you for everyone who was in the St. Louis or Kansas City area. We loved having you guys. We loved seeing you. It was really exciting to be back on the road, and we hope to see many of you in future cities down the road. We have the 2 virtuals today and tomorrow, and then we'll update this for all of your May events here shortly. The Focus Fridays are posted out here all the way through the summer. So if you guys are interested in checking out the Walters and Mark's Focus Fridays, be sure to register for those. The community, as you guys know, we are still on the TIBCO community. We are still working on that enablement coming soon. I know we've been talking about that for a little bit now. We are working on that and hope to provide that for you guys in the very, very near future, at least to help navigate the community a little bit better, be able to find what you guys are looking for. Also get more engaged with you guys on there with posting articles and things like that. So for the foreseeable future, we still will be on the TIBCO community, but we are wanting to make this a better experience for you guys. So stay tuned. Out on the community, we do have the 2 private, well, not private, one's private and one's public groups for you guys. If you're interested in joining the user group, just send the request in and we can add you to that. Within that group, we just let you guys know what's coming, remind you to register for stuff that's coming up. We'll do polls and surveys and things like that in there. It's just, and it's also a way for you guys to network and engage with each other. So that's available for you guys. And then new, as of last month, we have added a Focus Friday. So the Focus Friday group is with the Walters and Mark. You guys can join that group as well. The recordings and their presentations are posted out there. And then the Walters are interacting with you guys. So if you have questions for them or want to chat with them, you can do that through there. So be sure to join both of those if you're out on the community. And then get social with us. So we've got our social media platforms up, guys. We've got a very strong LinkedIn group. I know a lot of you guys already follow us on LinkedIn. As you know, that's where we have been posting, all the updates that are going on with IBI, when events are going on, when launches are going on, any new product, developments and updates. So be sure to follow us out there on LinkedIn and Twitter. And then we do have a new YouTube channel. So if you guys followed the old YouTube channel back in the old IBI days, there is a new one. And when I send this presentation out to you guys, these icons are clickable. So you can just click these links and it'll take you out to the new YouTube channel. But we'd love for you guys to subscribe and follow us to stay in the know with all things IBI. And as a quick reminder, since we are talking about 9.2 today, we want you to get upgraded to 9. So we have our tech refresh program that is the fast and pain-free way to upgrade to WebFOCUS 9. So if you guys are interested in this, Dan Ortolani's team is heading this project up, this initiative. If you guys want more information, please put that on your evaluation form, and that way we can get this over to Dan's hands and his team will reach out to you to start this discussion and start this process with you guys. But basically it's a 3-stage process, and to give you an effective and fast and pain-free upgrade to get to the latest version of WebFOCUS. You can also visit our website at ibi.com, WebFOCUS Technology Refresh Program if you want more information. But happy to have the team get in touch with you guys to discuss. So just let us know. At the end of the meeting, I will send out a link for an evaluation form. As always, your feedback is greatly appreciated. So if you wouldn't mind, please filling that out for us. It takes just a minute or two of your time. And that way we can, keep bringing these awesome user groups to you guys and improving where we need to. So always appreciate the feedback. On that note, that is all that I had. I will turn it over to VJ to kick us off. All right, VJ.
Thank you so much. Hey everyone, welcome again, and really excited to be here and let you all know that as of yesterday, version 9.2 is now available on eDelivery. So that's in many ways a big landmark release for us, as part of Cloud Software Group and kind of those things. So the team is here to talk about what we did in 9.2. So in terms of agenda, what we have is, we thought I'll quickly introduce, and I kind of also wanted to share what are some of the other things which are happening as part of Cloud Software Group. Where does IBI fit into that model? What are we doing, for the future? And then I'll get out of the way, and then Angie and Alex will spend time on the 9.2 features and kind of what's coming. At any point, if there are questions, please free to post them, and we'll keep answering them as we go along, as opposed to just waiting in the end and answering them. I'll take a few right now, and I think I wanted to kind of share a few updates with regards to, I think, IBI's plans, right? So as you all know, and I think Shay has been really iterating, IBI is back, and it's back in a very big way. And I think you'll see that testament in the 9.2 release, the effort, folks have put in getting this out in a timely manner. So I had said back in 6 months ago that 9.2 would come out in April, and we are very proud to say that it is now out. You will see press releases going out. We work very closely with all of you to get that feedback, incorporate that feedback into this release, and then at the same time kind of keep moving this forward. So very excited, and again, a big thanks to all of you in this larger community who have been making IBI and WebFOCUS a success. So I sincerely appreciate that, and so does the entire team, entire IBI team here. So a quick note with respect to IBI. So IBI is now set up as its own independent business unit within Cloud Software Group. So what that means is the way you should all think of this, and I'll repeat this, is that think of like a Meta or an Alphabet, which are kind of the parent companies, right? So Cloud Software Group is that company for us. So under that, IBI is one of the brands which is going to be run independently. So what it means is that we are going to have much more flexibility, independence, autonomy in kind of how we react to all of your requests, questions, feature requests, NFRs, enhancements, even new products and all of those things. So we are set up like that. So this year has been very instrumental in us getting set up that way and executing. And 9.2 is one of those first releases, which you will see has that completely branded back to as IBI. So all of those things have been done as part of that. And then obviously there are exciting features which we'll talk about. So apart from that, marketing is also an independent entity within IBI. So that's why I think we are able to really push forth a lot of these, user forums, these webinars, which, all of you have been really asking us for a while. So very excited that all of it that is back. And then, like Shay said, we had 2 already in-person events in New York City. That was the first one we did. And then St. Louis in Kansas City, which we just did earlier in the month. And we had really good participation feedback. So we plan to keep that moving and going forward with that. And we're also kind of engaging much more closer with all customers with respect to, as you heard, the Focus Fridays, and we have other forums we are going to be also setting up. We are the Gold support team, which will kind of help us do that. With respect to a larger event, like we used to do Summit, that is absolutely in the works. But what is going to happen is, I think this year, the time might be a little short for us to plan a mega event like that, but it is going to happen. And I think the timelines it will happen is most likely earlier next year. And the reason we want to do that also is what we are finding is as we kind of go on the road, we want to make sure everybody is aware, everybody can participate, and everybody can travel. So there are still obviously coming out from the COVID times, we want to ensure everybody is comfortable and doing that. So our plan is this year, every month, we will kind of continue our roadshow in different areas of the country. We will also plan some in EMEA, which we'll talk about tomorrow with that team. But again, I would say around Q1 of next year is when I think you can expect a little bit more, I would say, summit-like event. So stay tuned on that. We'll kind of keep sharing as we go along, but I would say early next year is when I think some of those things will happen. So the other key part I wanted to also mention is we are also consolidating a lot of the IBI's portfolio, and I think you all will be familiar with some of that. But in the coming days, you will hear a lot from myself and the team around what that means for our WebFOCUS users specifically, and how you can start taking more advantage of some of these, the product offerings. So as you all know, we have other categories, other product areas which we have market leading products on that. One of them is our data migrator product, which a lot of you use. So that is going to be here. We are going to continue investing more on that. We're working very closely with our existing customers, taking that feedback and then figuring out what we need to do. But at the same time, we have OmniGen, which is again even in the Gartner MQ leading product. It's one of the leading data integration products. So we are figuring out how that synergy will continue to exist. Our MDM capabilities are going to double up. We are going to add a lot more of the search, a lot more of pattern recognition in that. And we are going to kind of really enhance those products. So there is going to be big announcements coming for that later in I would say around May, June timeframe about what our plans are with the MDM product. The application integration, that mainly speaks about, the IWA Service Manager. So that also is really going to kind of, continues to grow. We have some marquee customers there. We are working very closely with them. The point and data quality is a new offering. We have completely redone as of last year. We have rebranded that into IBI data quality, and that will again one of those areas we are going to continue to grow. But the key center of all this is going to be again our visualization, reporting, BI capabilities, which is WebFOCUS. So our plan, I would say, in the next 12 to 18 months, you can all expect more cohesive activities around these. How will some of these products integrate for your benefit, for your use cases? So all of those areas is something we are going to be working between now, I would say, and the next 60 days, and then kind of come out and share what our plans are and take your feedback, more importantly, on what you would like to see. The central part of everything we are going to do is going to be on the cloud, right? And I'll speak about what those choices are going to be. And then we are going to be doubling and in fact tripling our investment on, I would say, AI and machine learning. So we have a lot of capabilities today on the data science machine learning, as you're all aware of within WebFOCUS. So our plan is to kind of really use that for the benefit of all personas, all users within the WebFOCUS product suite, but also extend that to some of the other product suites we have. So stay tuned on that one, and we'll do this. The one of the questions I'm seeing is the TIBCO managed users. So that will get rebranded as API Managed Cloud. So there's going to be no impact to that. In fact, that is, again, very instrumental and center in our cloud plans on what we plan to do, right? So stay tuned on that one. And I think, again, we'll keep sharing more on this through these forums and other forums. With respect to, I think, partner strategy, I think that's a great question. So in our new company and organization strategy, partners are going to be very central and strategic in how we kind of approach. So as IBI, again, our plan is to kind of really reinvent and kind of also bring back some of the same thing we used to do from a partner's perspective. So those things will absolutely, again, play a key part. So we have a separate partner team, I would say OEM and partner team in our sales aspect, or I would say the sales business unit. We have, by the way, a dedicated sales team which only focuses on all the IBI products, and sure a lot of you would have heard from them already. So that team is going to handle a lot of the partner development, and my team will handle a lot of the partner marketing activities and things like that. So if there are specific things from the partner perspective you would like to do, please feel free to share it here or reach out to me and Shay, and we'll combine those efforts and bring back. I'll take a couple more questions right now. One of them is, will the focus for all products be deployed in cloud, SaaS managed service? So the way our strategy in cloud is going to be, and I'll move to the next slide so that you can kind of see, this is for WebFOCUS, but it is going to be extended to other areas specifically for cloud as well. So cloud, we are going to enable cloud in two manners. One of them is a hybrid cloud solution, and the second one is going to be a managed cloud. So what the hybrid cloud is going to do, so our mantra has always been this. Either we manage it for you, give you the full experience, or if you don't want us to manage it, we want to make sure you can manage it in a very simple and a cost-efficient manner, the same way we would have done. So for that, containers fit very, very well into that strategy. We've introduced containers in WebFOCUS a while back, and that kind of really, has started seeing a big adoption in that. So our plan is to kind of take that and bring it to the other product suites also, which is outside of WebFOCUS, like the Omni, MDM, and all of those things. And so what that will allow you is that you can integrate it with any of your CI/CD pipeline, and you can get all of the cost efficiency benefit that we would be able to give you. You could do that in your own environment. We use Kubernetes as orchestration. So it is cloud agnostic in many ways because of that. So you can run it on an Amazon, container, Google, or Azure. So that was one of the reasons why we chose Kubernetes. But at the same time, if you have OpenShift or any of those, it will work seamlessly in those environments also. But at the same time, our offerings, which are whatever I showed you earlier, which is in the previous slide, all of these offerings are also available today in our managed cloud. So for any reason you want us to manage it, and there could be many reasons, right? So we have about 56 customers here. This business has been growing very steadily for us. And the reason the customers choose the managed cloud offering is because they want us to completely do this whole end-to-end experience from the time of an install, an upgrade, any security patches, maintenance, 24/7 support, all of that, right? So that you can just focus on what you have to do, which is getting value out of a product for your business. So that's the reason why some of these customers have chosen us, and all of these products you see are available in the managed cloud offering today, if you wish to choose so to. And we will continue enhancing that as well. On the connector to Microsoft OneDrive, I think we'll take that feedback and we can kind of get back to you, when from that aspect, Dan. But what I would say is the best, fastest way would be, obviously, we will take this feedback for sure. But at the same time, I think you can work with your support team, have them open up what I call a new feature request, which is an NFR. And from there, we will evaluate it and keep responding through that channel as well. But we will take this feedback and get back to you. So this is my last slide, and then I'll hand it off to Angie. So what I wanted to emphasize here, the themes and the direction that you can expect from us in the next 12 to 18 months. I covered the cloud part, covered the data science part. So data science is, again, I believe we are just scratching the surface of what we can do. We have a lot of capabilities today. We have the machine learning models, we have instant insights, we have metadata classification, and we also introduced two powerful features in the last 6 months. One of them is natural language query. Other one is the storytelling and the explainability of the models. So the last two features have actually kind of really, with your feedback, have pushed us to take a much broader look in this one. And the approach we are going to be taking in the next, I would say, 6 to 12 months, the code name for that is called WebFOCUS IQ at this time. And our goal is to actually bring all of these separate features you just heard me say on the data science, and make it in a much more seamless workflow for all of your needs, right? So for example, if you wanted to kind of come in and look at data classification first, or look at some data prep modeling for that, you'll be able to do that in a single area without actually having to leave that. Then if you wanted to kind of take that data, what you gathered, move it forward, into other areas, which would mean either running the models for regression or linear analysis, and then or moving on and creating more insights for you or the customers, right? So all of those features will kind of exist in a way which becomes very easier for you to use. So the whole point of what we want to achieve with data science and with WebFOCUS IQ is going to be what I call storytelling. So the storytelling aspect is going to help you drive insights at any point using the machine learning models or any other capability we have. For example, natural language query, we created that model. Customers can come in, they can ask questions in verbatim form. So you can go in and type in the system today, hey, show me, for example, what was my sales output in the region of Oregon for the month of May for white iPhones, for example, right? So it'll return you that answer. So what you can see is the model we have created is kind of an interactive, right? So think ChatGPT in that manner. So that's another thing we are looking at in the background, is kind of working through and how we can kind of really enhance some of those models we have built with more of those OpenAI APIs, OpenAI functionalities and all that. So the next big release we do And I still don't have a time frame of when we will do that. So we're working hard, and I think around May, June, we'll come out and give you details on when the next major release will be. But the whole point is we will be embedding a lot more of the data science capabilities into all of your day-to-day, be it data prep, be it authoring, be it visualization, and WebFOCUS IQ will be that feature, that tool, which will help you walk through all of these features. So in the coming months, again, we'll solicit a lot of feedback. We'll show some prototypes of what we have done so that you can all see it and give us more feedback around that. But the whole point of this is that we want to make it simple. We started with Hub, which kind of really simplified a lot of your capabilities. We want to enhance that with more of those IQ. But more importantly, at the same time, and I've said this before, any of the previous tools you've been using, App Studio, Infosys, our goal is to bridge that gap into Designer. 9.2 takes a huge step in that, and you'll see that from the team, but those tools are not going anywhere. So rest assured, you can continue using them. But at the same time, majority of the investment we do will be into Designer for these reasons, right? So that I can kind of give you a better experience on data science. I can give you a better user experience using Hub and all. So that's the reason I think moving into Designer will help you get those features and benefits out. But at the same time, we understand the gap, and the gap is getting smaller and smaller as we go between that and Designer. So that again is a key area on the unified authoring tool, which we want to really, I would say, solve for in the next 6 months or less. And then, there will be more and more features on the visualization side as well. At the same time, I think, we are engaged with a lot of the analysts, a lot of the market. We are engaged with Gartner, Forrester. We got very highly ranked recently from a Dresner advisory service on our BI capabilities. So in the next forum, we will share what those are. So what I'm saying is, we are aware of where the market is going. Our goal is to not stay at par. Our goal is to go ahead of that market. And all of these features we are building, and the designer and the latest designer is going to help us do that. But again, all of this would not happen without your love and support, which we've been seeing for all these years. So I personally wanted to thank each and every one of you for taking the time today and also being with us in this journey. And stay tuned. There is many more exciting things to come, for IBI and WebFOCUS specifically. Okay. With that, Angie, I'll hand it to you to kind of start walking through the 9.2 features.
All right. Let me get a couple of my windows sorted out here. All right. Yes, let's take a look at some of those 9.2 features. So where I'm going to start off is those themes that Vijay was just talking about. What does that translate to in terms of actual features that were added to the product, right? So kicking it off with the cloud initiative that we have that container edition of WebFOCUS that Vijay talked about, and really that container edition helps with the auto scaling policies, especially, and tied with the cloud initiative overall. Those containers can be used in a private cloud. They can be used in conjunction with our managed cloud and sort of a hybrid setup. Yeah, so great features there. In that unified authoring tool, the designer area, we had a lot of improvements and a lot of features in this area, especially. The first and largest one in this group, I would say, is the addition of complex filter expressions in the authoring mode of Designer. And so this is where you have multiple filter expressions and you want to connect them in some way, have like ands or ors in between them to say, maybe I want to get all of my data for the entirety of Europe plus the United States. And so now I can add a filter where the continent is Europe or the country is United States. We also added some new output formats for CSV and tab delimited, some of those unstyled output formats. Some additions in the multi-layer maps as well. And then the custom JavaScript and designer pages, a couple of enhancements there. One is validation on the custom JavaScript screen itself, where mistypes of maybe bad syntax or bad quotes, bad brackets will now get alerted, and you'll be alerted if there are any issues in that code itself. Also with the JavaScript is in the interactions, you can now execute an interaction to execute JavaScript, the action of that interaction. So that's really powerful, enables things like form validation or being able to modify different things on the page, styling or JavaScript wise. And then over in data science, Vijay already mentioned the explainability. It's a great feature, being able to see what factors contributed to the decision that the particular model generated. And there's also a piece there as well where I can now change one of those factors and see how that changes my results too. And then in the natural language queries, we added some improved time understanding, which I'll go into a little bit later. So then last, over on the tailored usability, our hub area most of all, I would call this one my favorite feature of the release, is the new white labeling capabilities that we introduced in the hub. So this allows customization of the colors, the logos, the favicon across all of WebFOCUS, the hub, designer, and so on. But aside from the white labeling, we did add other features as well, including a unified Git integration, where previously you had Git integration for client-side files of the workspaces area and server-side files, those application directories. Now it's just one configuration to do all of it together. So much simpler, a more unified process there. And then this is a little bit in Designer, but also our portals, which are sometimes the only thing that some of our users see, is the portals that you've generated and authored and published. In those portals, we've added the ability to put visualizations, reports, and HTML pages directly in the portal navigation. So no longer needing to add those pieces of content to a page in order to display it in the portal. You can just add it directly to that portal content. Okay, so the next part, I'm going to go over a couple of specific areas: cloud, the hub, and the DSML areas. And then I'm going to do a short demo, answer a couple of questions as they come in, plus pause for questions at that point. And then I'll hand off to Alex, and he'll really get into Designer and talk about Designer, and then same thing, demo and questions. All right. So in the cloud area, Vijay covered most of this already, so not too much to add beyond what he already said. But yeah, the WebFOCUS Container Edition packages all of the components of WebFOCUS together, and really allows for that automatic scaling and dynamic scaling as well by factors that are defined by you, whether it's resource limitation or timing or whatever it is. And the WebFOCUS Hub, this is the white labeling. So you can see here on the screen a couple of options for different colors in the white labeling. So in here as well, like I said, this allows you to do customization of WebFOCUS to match your company's look and feel. So you can change colors, and behind the scenes, we did a lot of unification of how we reference all of our colors across the product as well. Where now we're down to a narrowed list of color variables. And when you change one of those variables, it will update appropriately across all of WebFOCUS. Also, aside from the colors, logos. And so this is in the WebFOCUS Hub, the WebFOCUS homepage, Designer, and our reporting server UIs that are initiated from the Hub, such as the data flow UI and some of the other places that you'll see that reporting server logo. In addition to being able to manually go in and select images and change the favicon as well, for the colors, we added an ability to download and upload a template of colors. So depending on what I've defined in maybe in one environment, a dev environment where I'm playing with this, I can take the colors that I've defined in that environment. I've played around with it. I've decided this is what I want my environment to look like. Now I want to promote that to the next environment, to QA or to prod. I don't have to go back in and manually change all those colors again. I can download the template from my dev environment, go over to prod, upload the template again, and all of those changes will be right there. With white labeling as well, there's a way for me to just edit for myself, to preview it before I actually promote it to and publish it to everybody else. Okay, so let me get to a couple of questions here. Is white labeling available in the classic view or only in the hub? So it's available. The administration of it is in the hub, and where it will take effect is the hub designer, the reporting server UIs that are initiated from the hub, and the WebFOCUS homepage. So in that top right corner, if you've clicked on your user icon and said go to WebFOCUS homepage, it will take effect there as well. And then white labeling of multiple portals or just one. So in terms of our theming of portals, we've already done for the designer portals in a connection with the themes that are available in the global resources. So we didn't want to change what people were using in those global resources, what they've selected for their portals and the themes there. So we're still looking into creating a designer theme based on the white labeling settings, colors, images, etc. So if, yeah, look forward to that. And then can we change the white labeling colors based on the group they are in? Yeah, so we've had a lot of interest in this as well. And it's something that we are looking into, not quite there yet, because we wanted first to be able to do all of WebFOCUS, but it is something we're actively looking into for the future. And then I think this is almost the same question. Is it for a single white label for the entire organization, or can they be separate based on user or user groups? Same thing, yeah, there's sort of that tenant-based white labeling or group-based or security-based. We are looking into that for the future. Okay, let me continue on with the hub for now. All right, so a couple of more updates on the hub. So I mentioned that unified Git integration, and there's a couple of screenshots here. And so, like I said, this is one configuration area that will allow for that Git integration for both of my repositories, that workspaces area and the application directories area. With that integration, you can now commit and do all the usual Git actions in one place as well. And doing so will sync up both repositories. So you can commit, you can view the history, you can roll back to a specific commit, and also view and switch between multiple branches as well. And then one last little side note on the hub here, in our global search area, we added the more results for folders and workspaces in that global search. So now in that global search area, if you click on folders, you'll also get the workspaces as well. And searching on the text will return those results. Okay. I am going to go over the DSML area real quick, and then I'm actually going to do a demo of the white labeling. So I'll try to address a couple more of your questions that are coming in as I'm doing that demo. So in the DSML area, the data science area, like I said, we added explainability, and this is allows a better understanding of why a particular model came up with the result that it came up with. So it's available with binary classification and regression settings. So that binary classification usually end up with a yes or no, true or false, just two options at the end. And so this can really help of why you got that result. And then, as I mentioned as well, in the explainability dialogue that we have, you can actually change factors that contributed to that decision and see how that changes the results as well. So for example, I have the I can enter a modified value for the total transaction count and see how that actually changes the graph on my left-hand side here. Okay. Also in the DSML area for NLQ, we added more granular date and time periods. So for example, you can identify an exact date, a date range, and some more options for time periods like quarter, for example. And so that's some of the updates in the NLQ area. All right, so let me go to the demo side. Okay, so I'm here in WebFOCUS. I probably got timed out, so let me just click refresh real quick here. All right. So when I first come into the WebFOCUS Hub, I'm logged in as an administrator right now, and the white labeling configuration is in this Management Center plugin. So once I'm here, it's a new line item under the client administration for white labeling, and here is where I can change all the different aspects of this. When you come in the very first time, brand new to WebFOCUS, have never touched it, the first thing you'll have to do is click this checkbox to say enable the styling overrides. That will enable all the different things that you can change. And I'll come back to that checkbox, the secondary use for that as well. So then once I'm in here, I can change all of my logos easily from here. So I can choose a new favicon, I can come and choose a new logo for the hub, maybe with a different company name. I can also change my browser tab label. So if I wanted to put a new name there instead of IBI WebFOCUS, I can do that. So when I click save, if you notice in this top area, I'm starting to see those changes already. I see the new favicon, the new browser tab title, and my new logo here as well. And so then, like I mentioned, I can do this for the other areas as well. So the WebFOCUS homepage, the reporting server, UIs that are initiated from the hub, and designer as well. So same thing here, I can change the logos themselves, but I can also change the text of those browser tab titles. Let me just put some of those in, click save. So when I click save, this is happening just for me, and I'm the only one who are seeing these changes so far. And so I can play around with this as much as I want. Playing around with it is especially important with the colors. So when I come to the colors, I can start entering in hex values of different colors here. So for example, I could change this one to more of a pink color, and maybe this one as well. That one's a little bit more purple. I can play around with this. Once I click save, I'm going to see those updates live. You see my text in my hover has kind of gone pink. That title is a little bit more purple. But I also mentioned that download and upload. So for example, what I could do is download the template of this. When I open it up, let me pull that over to the right screen. You'll see the different variables that we have that you can set in the environment, and their different hex codes that they have currently based on what I've last done in the environment. I can send this out to maybe a design team or a marketing team that wants to use the company branding. They can update all the colors, give me the correct text values that match the overall company branding. And then when I come back with it, or when they send it back to me, I can just upload that into the environment. So I have one that I had already prepared, has a lot of like orange and yellow colors here. I upload that, I see the preview, but when I click save, I can now see that all for myself. All right, then one more piece of this that I want to show is I'm going to show real quick the developer view. So this is the exact same environment, a separate session, separate window. I'm logged in as a developer user for one of my workspaces. So I haven't published anything yet. So I'm not going to see any of those changes yet on this separate developer user. So it's not until me as the admin, I say, okay, everything looks great. I'm ready to show this to everyone else. Now I can click publish. I get a little message saying everything's successfully published. I come back to my developer user, just do a refresh. Now I'm starting to see those changes. Again, the favicon, the browser tab title, the logo, all the colors and everything. And then also, I mentioned this is passes through to designer as well. So even as my developer, user, and designer, I'm seeing the new favicon, the title there, and in all of the UI of designer as well. So choosing my template, all of my menu options here. Okay, so I mentioned I was going to come back to that checkbox. So if I decide I don't like this theme, I don't want anybody to see it at all, but I don't want to lose the work that I've done, I can just uncheck the checkbox, disable it for the whole environment. I'll go back to our default WebFOCUS styling, but all my changes are still saved. I'm not going to lose any of my work. So this is a good way, like if you just want to test something out or just revert back to the default styling temporarily, this checkbox allows you to do that. All right, so let me get to some of the questions. Okay, let's see. So does white labeling include modifying the page that appears when a report is running? It's been a while, but I just used a page with the animated GIF some years back. So we are, I think you were talking about sort of our loading wheel or sort of loading graphic for that animated GIF. So we're looking to expand white labeling into a lot of different areas. That's one of them for sure. And then we also, I briefly touched on this, but we also didn't want to change automatically any styling of reports as they've been defined already by the users. So this white labeling won't actually change the styling of your reports, the styling of your pages or your portals, because you've already decided what you want that to look like. So we didn't want to change that on you just by doing an upgrade. Okay, let's see. White labeling, can it be done differently for each environment? Yeah, so one color for a validation environment, one color for a production environment. Absolutely. Yeah, so the way the white labeling works, it's stored for the environment. And I think that's a fantastic idea. That's the first time I've heard of that use case, but that's a wonderful idea where maybe your production is matching your company colors, but your validation environment is, I don't know, bright red, so that everyone can look at it and see the know that they're in that validation environment instead. Okay. Do you need admin rights to access the white labeling options? And yes, you do. So because white labeling affects everybody in the whole environment, once I've hit publish there, we did limit it to just administrators of that environment. Once we get to a point where we're supporting sort of that tenant-based white labeling or security group white labeling, we are going to expand that to be maybe a group administrator of a particular tenant would be able to modify their own individual white labeling. But for now, since it is the entire environment that you're affecting, it is just administrators. Can you change the default style for reports and pages? So like I said, we're not doing anything for the styling of reports and pages at this time, but it's something we are looking into for having a white labeled based theme in the future. Any plans to have white labeling change based on user preference? For example, a dark theme and something brighter during the day. Yes, that's something we're looking into as well. We're going to look first at sort of that tenant level of white labeling by a security group or by a tenant, but the user-based and having a user selection as well, or maybe multiple themes that a user could select from is also something we're reviewing for the future. Okay, can you migrate the white labeling through the SDLC process so updates did not have to be made manually in each environment? Yeah, so let me click and enable this back on. So the colors especially, I can download and upload between environments. So when I download here, let me pull that notepad document over. So the colors that I've modified here is my current list of colors in this text file as well. So I can use this to promote between environments and really have control over that. I think the SDLC process you mentioned is more automated, maybe like a shared storage of these types of things. Let's follow up on that, I think, and maybe submit that as a new feature request, because that's I think that would be a good feature for sure, especially if you have tons and tons of environments you manage. Okay. And then one more question here before we get to the designer side. With WebFOCUS 9X, is EUM and BUE built into the prod portal or still a separate install? I would say let's follow up on that through the support organization. If you can submit a ticket with that, we can get you the right answer on that one. Yeah, and let's follow up that way. Okay. So I will keep trying to answer questions about white labeling or any of the hub or DSML or cloud areas in the chat. But yeah, I'll hand off to Alex, and you can go start going over some of the designer's features.
Thanks, Angie. Yeah, very cool. Really enjoy playing around with the white labeling stuff. As someone who likes to have different styles and stuff for my environment and my content. Not just in the hub and DSML, we also had some enhancements in Designer as well for 9.2, kind of across the board, multiple different types of content and kind of scenarios. So I'll get into those. Let's see here. Yes. So Angie mentioned this one earlier. Complex filter expressions is one of those features that kind of like modernized and brought from InfoAssist into Designer. And when we did it, we tried to make it a little bit more intuitive, a little bit more streamlined, easy to use, and also tried to avoid some of those scenarios where you might end up with kind of ambiguous logic, because these filter expressions, as you can see in some of these images, can be quite complex. So we wanted to make sure that with this complex stuff, you weren't running into scenarios where, for example, if you have an and an or within the same set of parentheses in IA, it was a little bit ambiguous which one would kind of take precedence. So we tried to split that up, make it easier to manage. We have a whole new filter expression UI. So all of the static filters that you add in a content item are going to show up there in the filter expression panel. And if you have a page, that means that you can have multiple separate filter expressions for each item, since each of those items can have different static filters. And you can use simple drag and drop controls to create groups, move items between groups, and you can change and or conditions at the group level, so that way it's easy to understand which items will be connected with and or, and easy to change those between. And with the same level of complexity that we had in InfoAssist, so you can create multiple levels of groups and subgroups for a very complex logic if you want. And I'll be demoing that in a little bit once I get through this content. We made some other enhancements in Designer authored content as well. One of them is the ability to generate CSV or tab delimited reports directly from Designer. So that is makes it very easy to just build your report directly in the tool, and then you can export it as raw data. A lot of third-party tools, including our own tools, use CSV data for various purposes. And tab delimited is something that we also use in certain cases, and other tools also sometimes use tab delimited as opposed to CSV. So provide options to output in those file formats, so that you can consume that raw data elsewhere. Document mode was something that we introduced in 9.1, and we've continued to make enhancements to that in 9.2. So a couple enhancements include the addition of text boxes to make it easy to add labels to your document. We have the styling options built right into the panel in Designer, so it kind of continues to leverage that space in an efficient way, which is kind of something we've been trying to do with Designer overall, and still provides all those options to style those text in those text boxes on a character by character basis. We also have more output formats available for documents as well. So now, in addition to PDF, you can also do HTML or enhanced IDA output for browser-based viewing of a document. And you can also generate a PowerPoint presentation as well for another desktop option. So more different options for how you generate those documents and consume them depending on how you want to view those. And then finally, kind of a small enhancement, but one that might be kind of useful is now we have the ability to style pie charts whose values are all zeros. So one scenario that could happen is that you might have a page with filters, and as a result of those filters, you might have multiple pie charts on that page, and one of them might end up having no data in it. So now you can kind of customize the display of that pie chart, or any pie charts that have 0 as a total value, so that it matches a little bit better with the themes that you have throughout your environment and in your other content. So there's some enhancements for reports and charts. For maps, we've also continued to make a lot of enhancements to both existing features, and we've added some new ones as well. Binning was the one that I think is the most useful. It's another way of viewing density of features in a proportional symbol or a point map. So this is kind of an alternative to clustering or the heat map option. I think it's a little bit easier to understand as well exactly how your data is laid out on the map, but basically creates a grid and then shows the number of features and can include a color scale as well to indicate how many features are in specific areas, making it very easy to identify hotspots on your map. And at runtime, you also have controls to toggle the view from binning to heat map cluster or just the regular point view. And you can also adjust the size of those bins as well, so that if you are viewing data that's kind of like on a national level, you can use bigger bins, or if you're zoomed into like a city, you can use smaller bins that are more precise. The heat map also had a lot of updates, including runtime customizability. So we now have a set of, I want to say like 20, maybe more preset heat map color schemes. So you no longer have to set those up. There were a lot of like very specific options for the color scale, or for the color scale for the heat map. So now you can use some preset options that are easy to apply, and you can switch them out depending on what the base map is, so that your heat map is easier to see. We also support heat maps in 3D view, so that provides more flexibility, especially for people like the kind of like flashier appearance of a 3D map. And we also have more adjustable heat map customization options. So a lot of those are things like the cluster density and sensitivity of what gets included in the heat map, what gets included like as a hotspot as opposed to just a regular like area of the heat map. There's a lot of options there so that you can adjust it and really fine tune it for how you think looks the best and represents your data the best. And so all those things are at runtime. It makes it easy to adjust based on what specific area of the map you're looking at as well. Finally, also we had filter effects. That was a new feature that we added in 9.1 as well. That was originally based on data filtering. So you could select a field and then select value or range of values for what should have those filter effects applied to it. And that would allow you to highlight those features on the map. Now we've added a little bit of enhancement to that. You can also now do filter effects by selection, which I think is especially useful with our bookmark feature. So you can highlight specific areas of the map that you select. It doesn't have to be based on data. You can just select it visually using our default selection tools. And then you can revisit it later if you bookmark it and take a look to kind of jog your memory, remember what you were looking at previously. And then finally, one thing that is useful for especially different countries, but also even here in the United States, we have some examples where certain states might have the same city name multiple times in that state. And so now we have support for counties within the geography hierarchy so that you can differentiate those to make it to make sure that those cities are processed separately so that everything shows up the way it should. So those are enhancements that we made for maps. We made a lot of enhancements for designer pages as well. Since we just reviewed like single content items, you could add those to a page and you would get these options. Those include some customization options for filter controls. So one of those is the pagination customization for drop-down lists and I believe double list controls as well. You can control the number of list items to show on each page, as well as the minimum value, so that if you don't want it to be paginated at all, if there are only a certain number of list items in that filter control, then you can say, don't paginate unless there's 50 items. And that allows you to just customize the usability of those drop-down controls you can make it either so that if you prefer less scrolling, you can make short pages, but that'd mean more like paging. Or if you want less paging, then you could have longer pages with more items on them, so that's less likely that people would have to navigate to multiple pages. Or as I said, you can make it so that it doesn't paginate at all if you want. So a lot of flexibility there. Predefined date ranges was something we added last release to the calendar control, and we made some other small enhancements for customization for calendar controls in this release to kind of build upon that. One of those is the ability to, I guess, turn off, hide those predefined date range options so you can jump right into the regular calendar control and select your ranges manually. So me personally, I like the predefined date ranges. I think it makes it very easy to select, if you just want to see stuff for the past year or whatever, and not think about what the actual dates involved would be. But if you do want to select a static range of dates, you can make it so that you can jump right to that option by using a setting in Designer. And you can also configure the first day of the week, which can have an impact on if you have week-based charts and reports. So like, for example, if I want to see data for the past week, do I include Sunday in that week? Well, it depends on if Sunday is the first day of the week or if Monday is the first day of the week. So you can customize that as well from Designer. We also made some very cool enhancements to our extremely powerful interactions feature. So one of them is conditions on tasks. So that means that if you have filter controls in your page, you can actually make it so that the interactions behave differently, like for example, execute different content or even schedule different content depending on what the selected filter control is. So if I select North America, then maybe I want to generate a detailed report for North America. If I select Europe, maybe I want to generate a detailed report for Europe. So I can do that using our more intuitive interactions interface. Another thing that we added to interactions is support for JavaScript functions. So if I have a JavaScript function that I set up in the JavaScript area of my page, then I can actually execute that from an interaction as well. So that kind of combines the easy to use UI that we have for interactions with the complete customizability and power that you have with the JavaScript API that we have for pages. And that allows you, as a reminder, if you haven't used that before, you can add new containers with content in them. You can add new buttons to the page using that JavaScript. So tying that into interactions just gives you even more power in that regard. And then kind of like tying all this together, if you are like me and not the most prolific or proficient JavaScript code writer, we have a JavaScript validation feature that will find kind of like basic common errors, things like if you didn't close your parentheses or if you didn't close your quotes, stuff like that. Other basic syntactical errors, it'll identify them so that you can fix those right away. You don't need to run it and do troubleshooting. So it'll save you time in that regard. Because I think probably all of us make those kinds of errors from time to time. So that's very useful for that as well. So a lot of enhancements for designer pages, a lot of great interactive and customizability features added there. And then finally, this is one that sounds kind of simple on the surface, but I think is a pretty nice quality of life, I would say, enhancement, is the ability to add single items to a portal. So I think for all of the history of portals, you've always had to add content to a page, whether that was a portal page in our old school portals or in the new portals. But now you can just add a content item directly to that portal and we'll show it in the portal and kind of treat it or organize it in the same structure that we organize pages and folders, just like we do now. So that makes it easy. It saves you time. You can save your content directly to the portal. And you can also use shortcuts and stuff like before. So speaking of shortcuts, also, we also made it easier to add those as well. So you can create the shortcut directly in the portal. You don't need to copy it over from the original or from some other location where the shortcut was created. So I think that's it for Designer.
So Alex, there are a couple of questions before you get to the demo.
Sure. Yeah.
One came in about mapping. For example, It says in this version, you can add multiple metrics on a map, or can you add multiple metrics on a map? For example, be able to display sales as green and display returns in red instead.
Yes, let me think about that. So there are a couple solutions that you could use for that. We do have support for multiple measures in a bubble map. So you could do sales as the size and what was the other one? Quantity or something
returns.
as returns as the like a color scale. So we do have that option. We also have the option, which I think would probably be easiest since the multi-layer map, you could create multiple map layers. So you could have markers, one of the layers showing the sales, one of them showing the returns. I don't think we have support for measures as multiple series like we do in a bar chart. Like you could make like returns and sales as a single bar. I'll think that over though to see like, because we do have the new feature from 9.1 for pie charts as markers in a map. And so in theory, you could visualize it that way, but we don't have support for that right now, but I'll give that some thought because I think that actually makes sense now that we have that new feature, because I think before we probably wouldn't have been able to really represent it in that way. But for now, the multi-layer option, I think would be a good way to go as well.
Another one related to map are drill downs from a map now configurable from the designer UI.
Not yet. Yeah, right now, still just syntactically, but we'll take a look because we do have that drill down feature for regular charts. So I think that's something we can take a look at.
Yeah. This one I think is related to just charts in general, not necessarily maps. Can we select colors per item instead of by series? Series 0, series 1.
I think I might need more detail on like yeah, what different item. I guess I have seen requests in the past where they where a user, and this makes sense, where a user might want to specify like the actual value rather than the series, because the series can change based on filtering and stuff. We don't have that in the UI. You can do that syntactically using well, actually, you could kind of probably do it based on what's it called? Conditional styling. Just apply the color based on the value there. And we have a similar feature syntactically, but not available in the UI right now. The UI, aside from conditional styling, it's just series.
Yeah, that one was submitted anonymously. So I'm going to request who submitted that open up a case with support, and we can follow up that way as well and get you the information you need. Okay. And then there's a question of can you export to JSON format, I think is the
yeah, so we from the UI right now currently just CSV and tab, as I mentioned. For JSON, you could do either a hold file and save it to your application directory, or you could go in and like manually edit the report, which is what you had to do for CSV in the past. But yeah, that's definitely something we can look into. I know we've been looking at some other formats as well. XML is one of them that we've been looking at, so we can definitely consider JSON as well.
Yeah. Two more, and then I'll let you get back to your demo. There's a question of which version of Esri JavaScript API do you support?
So right now for the multi-layer maps, it is 4.26, I believe. And then Info Assist uses a different one since it's like single layer map. I don't remember. It's a 3 dot something. I could get you the details on that. But for the multi-layer maps, I'm pretty positive it's 4.26. We try to stay up to date with the latest ArcGIS API. So I think that's the latest one, if I remember correctly.
And then last one for now, exporting to PDF with multiple pages.
Yes, yeah, you can do that. Our document mode in Designer has like a little page menu that you can use to add multiple pages, and you can put different content on each of those pages.
Awesome. I'm sure there's some more coming in, so I'm sure we'll have more, but go ahead.
All right, I'll start on the demo then. Okay, so I will start with the filter expressions. Just to save some time, I've like pre-created my filters here. So you might probably noticed there is no data in this chart right now. And that is because these filters kind of contradict each other. So by default, all of our filters are connected by and relationships. So what I have here is one where the product category is computers and another one where the product category is televisions. Since there's no individual records that are both computer and television, I get no data here. And the same goes for country. Yeah. So here I've got the country set to Japan and another filter for Korea. And so since there's no data that's both Japan and South Korea, I don't get any data in here. But with the new filter expression option, I can kind of create a more complex logic that will help me to view that data. So what I'm going to start by doing is create a new group. As I mentioned, the operators are kind of like coordinated within groups. And that avoids scenarios where, like, if I change this to or, then it's like product category or this product category and this, then it becomes kind of ambiguous, like how those should be joined together, kind of like what's the PEMDAS, if you guys remember from math class of that. But once I create a group, I can change the group to an or group. You can see the operator changed within the group here. And then what I'll do is I'll just add all my filters in there. It's all drag and drop, very easy to do. Alternative options to like put it afterwards, you get a little line, you can drop it there. So now all my filters are within the group. They're all connected by or. I'll actually apply that to show you what happens. So now I'm getting any data that is either Japan, televisions, computers, or South Korea. So I should actually get all product categories, and I should actually have data for all countries too, because it's going to be any sales of televisions in any country, any computers in any country, or any product category in South Korea, or any product category in Japan. So you can see that that was the result of that. But actually what I intended to do was I wanted to see, for example, televisions in Japan and computers in South Korea. So I'm going to do is, let's see, this is the Japan one, and this is the televisions one. I'm just going to drag these on top of each other, and you can see it makes a new group. I want to leave that group as an and group so that I make sure that I'm like only scenarios where both of these are true, not like either Japan or television. So I want both of these to be true within these groups. But the way these are joined together is via or. So these two like subgroups are connected with an or relationship. So I'm going to apply that. And this is the final filter expression that I wanted to create. And so now you can see this is the data that I actually wanted when I first created those filters. I was able to make a complex relationship. So you can see television sales in Japan. I think that was the combination of filters that I made was bigger than the sales of computers in South Korea. So you can see that was like relatively complex logic, but not by far the most complex logic you could possibly do. So this should open up a lot of possibilities in terms of like really selecting specific data to show in your charts and reports. And I think we made it a lot more easy to use in terms both logically and also like kind of like the drag and drop behavior than it was in InfoSys, in my opinion. So there is the filter expressions. And then I wanted to show really quickly the portal content stuff where you can just drag a single item into a portal. So here's my portal here. You can see I have some subfolders in there, and got some more subfolders. And here's a page. This is like the classic portal behavior. I'd add a bunch of pages to my portal so I could see all my content together. But what I've done differently here, now that it's 9.2, is actually I'll click this folder. Here I've got a page, and here I've got just a map, which is not a multi-content thing. It's just a single content item. And I've also got this folder that has a bunch of single items within it. So now here's what the portal actually looks like when I run it. And then if I swap over, here's a page that I have in my portal. And here's just a single content item. It just shows up in the portal as expected, just kind of fills the frame. And then here is content item. It might take some time to load. There you go. So here's like a single content items. And so you could use this to like have your portals and have them together with like a bunch of other content that you could use to kind of enhance that. So provides a lot more flexibility in terms of grouping that content together in that portal context.
Awesome, thanks, Alex.
Yeah, let me take a look at some of these questions as well.
There's one, can we do a hold file to use later in the procedure as either part of a join or a DB lookup?
Let's see. So we do have our data tab, which has like sort of a data flow structure. So you can do hold files kind of, I would say, like similar to IA kind of, or App Studio, kind of like later in the data selection process. You can do kind of like a multiple hold file type of thing. But I guess if what you're trying to do is have a hold file after the like charter report that you are looking at, then I'm not sure that we have that capability, but probably the way to do it would be to kind of use that data flow to get the records that you're looking for.
I'm going to take one of these. So Designer now has the ability to create interactive tasks, but does Designer have unique JavaScript syntax that can be used? For example, HTML, the IB Composer had a unique syntax for executing tasks or running an animation. So the short version is yes, there is a Designer API functionality. If you reach out to us after the session, we can get you the link for it as well. It's not quite the same as the IB Composer functions. You won't be able to copy an IB Composer function into Designer. So it's not exactly the same, but there is a lot of overlap of functionality there. And actually in the Designer API, there's some extra functionality as well that wasn't available enough. A question, can we load the numbers in a dropdown instead of a range? I'm not sure what that was.
Oh yeah, no, I think I know what they're talking about. I don't know if we have that option in Designer pages. I guess the easiest way to do it would be to change the format of the field to like an alpha field, and then that way you would know it would show up in a dropdown. Angie, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you can swap between a slider in a Designer page and a simple dropdown list.
I don't believe so.
The other option would be to use, if you're creating new content, you could use the static filter and then use that dialog. You just type in the numbers that you want rather than using the slider. But I think for filter prompts, I think the options would be either slider or edit box, I think is also an option.
Two related to the filter expressions. One is for the and or logic, is there a not option? So can you say this and not that?
Essentially, yes. You could just create the filter as like not equals, for example. And so that way, when you build your filter expression, then essentially you'd be doing that. You would be saying like this and not that, yeah, since the filter would be not equal.
And then this one is like there's a lot of new flexibility with the complex filters that we're creating, but it obviously is not going to cover every single scenario that I could write in the focus language. So what are the plans for that?
Yeah, I guess, we're going to continue to enhance this stuff. I know Infosys, for example, had some features, stuff like, I don't remember if DB lookup or like in file or what the exact filter terminology was, but like some options to like use different data sources and stuff like that. Other options, filtering based on a master file, that kind of thing. And some more parameter options. Those are all things that we're looking at. Of course, there will be a limit, I guess, at some point where if you have something like super complex, then just manually editing the folk exec might be the easiest solution, but hopefully like Designer provides, pretty much all the basic options that you need. And then if you need to do further customization, that's always an option to do it manually.
One just came in, can we chain the date controls, the calendar controls?
Yes. Yes. Correct me on like the level, Angie, of chaining, but we do already like one thing that's kind of built in is if you have like one field, then it is kind of treated as two filters. It's like a start date and an end date. And then when you assemble the page, you can join those into one filter if you want, or you can leave them as two separate ones. I think we have in the past, like in App Studio, we had options to chain, which would mean that you couldn't select anything outside the range in the calendar control based on other controls. I don't know if we have that right now, but.
Correct. Yeah. So what we have right now is sort of with the date control is sort of one-way chaining, where the dates that you select will modify your dropdowns or other content that you have. But if you select from a dropdown, it won't limit your date range on the calendar. We're looking into several options for limiting those date ranges on the calendar, maybe limiting to a certain duration or restricting to certain dates based on the chaining. Yeah. So look forward to that in the future.
Let me see if I understand this question about can you publish to a public portal directly from Designer instead of just my portal? I will tell you that when I built the one that I showed, I just saved from Designer into the portal folder directly, so I didn't need to like save and then move it or anything like that. I don't know if that answers that question or not, but that's kind of the process that I use. So you can save stuff directly in there.
This one, is there a feature for tree controls in Designer? I think that's part of our gap that we're reviewing for the future.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, let's take a. I need to brush up on the tree control because I didn't use it that much in App Studio, is where we had that. But yeah.
And then can we restrict the domain folder in the workspace the same as a legacy portal? So I think this is related to on the page, you can have sort of that workbench view or workspaces view, being able to restrict that folder structure. I don't believe we have a way to restrict that yet.
Yeah, I haven't done testing like running a portal as another user that can't access different folders. Like, do they see those folders in the workspaces widget? Is that the question? I
would say
I would have to take a look. I would assume they wouldn't.
Yeah, let's follow up on that one afterwards, because I think there were some scenarios where you would only see what you have access to based on your security rules, but it may not be configurable in the.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Where can you configure it from the page level? Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess depending on your specific use case, whoever submitted that question, we could follow up if there were more use cases there. All right.
All right, guys. There's one more if you want to take that one.
Let's see. Will there be a utility to convert App Studio HTML pages to Designer? So this is a loaded question, and it's a really difficult one for us to answer because the structure of those things are very, very different. The analogy I like to use is like you wouldn't take a motor from wouldn't take the motor from a lawnmower or from a tractor and try to use it in a pickup truck. So we will see what we can do. We're looking into it, but it is a very complex issue for us.
Great, thank you, Angie. Okay, guys, we have a couple of minutes left. Any final questions for Angie or Alex? This has been a super great interactive group. Thank you guys so much for all of the questions. Any last questions for them? And then as a reminder, guys, yes, you will receive a copy of the recording, and yes, you will receive a copy of any PowerPoints that were shown. We will have those over to you, if not by the end of the day, first thing tomorrow morning. So you will be able to access all of that, as well as the recording also will be posted on the ibi.com website under the resource section. And the recording will also be posted on our YouTube channel. So those are other two areas that you guys can also access. Any final questions for Alex or Angie? Going once, going twice. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, Alex, Angie, VJ. It was a pleasure to have you guys with us today. Thank you for all of the great demos and new feature insights. I hope everyone on the line, really enjoyed what they saw and are excited about the new release. I did throw in a link to the evaluation form in the chat. If you guys could please pop in there and fill that out for us on your way out. I will also send it in a follow-up email just in case you have already left. But on that note, thank you again for everyone who joined us today. We look forward to seeing you guys again. We look forward to seeing a lot of you guys on the road. So let us know if you want us to stop by a city near you. Feel free to reach out to myself or anyone on the team, and it'll definitely get back to our team. And with that, I will give you back 3 minutes of your day, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and we'll talk to you guys soon.